Hi, welcome to Frappups and Gaming. In this video, I'm going to try something that I haven't actually done before, so I'm going to see if I can work it out. Now, what I'm going to make is a prop knife. Now, I've seen a few photos online of people trying to copy the dragon glass knives from Game of Thrones. Now, I don't have access to anything similar to dragon glass at the moment, but what I do have is some scrap acrylic sheets, which I salvaged out of old computer monitors. Now, these sheets are an alright size for sort of making like a knife prop with, but not big enough for too much else. So I've got a few of these, so I figured what I'm going to do is give it a go, see if I can sort of make my own sort of dragon glass knife, my own attempt at it with this. I'm just going to use just like a scrap timber offcut for the handle, and for that I'm just going to use a piece of this here, just a bit of framing timber, was just left over from another job. Now what I've done on this here, I've just got a pencil and I've just sort of roughed out a rough handle shape on here. Now with this here, of course, that's going to be towards the base here. This is where I'm going to actually attach the blade. I haven't decided yet if I'm actually going to try to drill all the way through and actually sort of have a tang on the blade that will slide down all the way in, or if I'll just sort of attach it just a small amount. I'll work that out as I'm going. It's going to come down to what the acrylics like to work with. Now, I've never cut acrylic before or done anything like that, so this is all completely new to me, and it has a pretty big learning curve. Now, the acrylic I've got, because it's just scrap acrylic from the old monitors, it's actually got little sort of dots all over it. I'm hoping I can buff those off as I go, but if not, I'll work something else out. Now, I've got a few sheets of this, so if I can't get rid of this, I might try to put a pattern and sandwich it between two layers to see if I can make something else another way with it. Alright, so I'm going to give it a go from there and see how things end up. Alright, so maybe just a paper template like this. Looks like it will fit on the material fine. There's a few cuts and things like this on here. Just see if I can actually... Looks like I can actually trace it straight to the acrylic, which will make things a lot easier when I go to cut this. But if this works out well, there's quite a lot of other props and things I want to try to make using this method. And if I can get this to work well, I'm also going to experiment with using LEDs embedded into, say, like the handles and things to try to light the blades in different ways. So it's just a method I want to try out. Again, this is just rough sort of templating. Yeah, I'm just using just a soft pencil to try to work this out here. And if I can't get a good effect with the blade, I'm just going to use different sort of grits of different sort of sand pads and buff wheels and things to try to frost it a bit. Just run that down as far as I can, and then I can always trim it to suit. That showed up all right on there. Sort of paper out of the row. So we have sort of a rough knife shape like this, handle on it like that, so that the blade will actually recess down into here. Should give it a little bit more strength. It is just a fragile item, and it is just a display prop, so it doesn't matter too much about making this strong enough to sort of carry around too many places and things. I'm only really going to display it, provided it all works out. Alright, so that's the rough plan, and I'll go from there. I have the blade and the handle sections now cut out. The acrylic was a little bit tricky to cut. I did use my bandsaw for it. That's why I've got this little nick still here, but that will come out when I start sanding and grinding the shape into it a bit more. I'm not too sure how it's going to go for the thickness. Maybe I need a thicker blade. But again, being a display piece, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Now, handle I got it all cut out. It of course needs a lot of sanding now because of the thickness. I'm going to probably cut a slot down here, the thickness of the material, and try to recess it in fairly far. Probably down to about there. I can always trim this to suit. But if I can recess it in, slot it down to a good depth, it'll grip either side of the acrylic a lot better. And hopefully give me a better sort of smoother appearance. I did toy with the idea of actually chopping the handle all the way down as far as here. All the way down, taking the big slot out of it. And then of course when I bind the handle over the top, it'll sort of re-wrap it and re-hide it. So that's still something I'll possibly do. I might get some sanding done on the handle first though. See how the shape's going to progress. And then work it out from there. Now for the blade itself, I'd like to go with kind of like a chipped edge. So I'm just going to get my Dremel, and I'm just going to sort of grind it in and sort of take it out and make it look like sort of chunks, like shattered glass. I'm going to do that all the way along here, around the front edges, bottom and the back. I'm going to keep all as clear as I can. Now the top section here is really smooth in that because that was an outer edge of the panel, whereas all here looks a bit chopped. Hoping I can buff that out. If I can't, I'll try to make this part here match. Do that. Try to make all the edging appear frosted, all the way around the sort of the cut edge. And then if I can get that to work well, I've got about 20 sheets of this here, and I've got quite a few prop ideas I'd love to do with it. So this is just a test, just to see how the acrylic goes. If it proves as easy to work with as it was to cut, I mean, this acrylic was a lot easier to cut than the handle was. You know, you'd have to take it slow and be a bit careful, but it cut perfectly fine on my bandsaw, and my bandsaw only has a wood blade on it. You know, there was a bit of jagging and burring along the edge, but to get rid of that, all I had to do was pretty much get the timber, scrape it up the edge, along the frame, and it all just came straight off. That'd be a nice, safe edge to work with. You know, I can't cut myself on that. Probably the points, I could probably snag myself with quite badly because they're pointed, but, you know, with regards to that, completely safe to work with. You know, I don't feel like it's going to snap on me. But if I do feel it's going to be sort of a bit worrisome as I get further along, what I'll do is probably get another piece of timber and sort of clamp it to the piece of timber so it has sort of like a backrest while I'm doing the edging, just to prevent it from warping too far and shattering or anything while I'm trying to work. But for being a display piece, I think overall in the end, that's going to look like a fairly nice knife. Okay, the experiment continues. Right, so I've finished sanding the handle on this one now. What I've done is I've cut the slot in here. It's very, very roughly done because I probably should have used a vise and taken my time, but just as a trial, I didn't think it would matter too much. And what I've done as well is, once I had the actual slot cut for the blade to go in, I've drilled these 4 holes. And that's just, they go all the way through both sides of the handle, as well as through the blade. That's just so I can use these little pins here, which I'm just using just a 1.5mm timber rod I had lying around, just to poke those through, just to stop, once the blade's in, just to stop it sort of wobbling around, wiggling and things like that, and causing any sort of concerns and problems. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, well, I want to actually colour the handle, but I wanted to use a different method I've never tried before. Seen it online, love the idea, is that I'm actually going to burn it. I'm going to set it on fire, just using just a little blowtorch, just to sort of darken all the timber black. Once it's done, I'm just going to see if it needs a light sanding. Hopefully it doesn't, because I want it to be a nice dark finish. And then once it's done, I'm just going to lacquer it, just with a clear lacquer. Just a, you know, quick spray on clear coat. Let it dry. Then it'll be a simple matter of glue the pins into place. Now for that, I'm mainly just going to use wood glue just to bond it. And all I'm going to do is just put a dot of wood glue in the top of this side here. Twist the pins through, and then cut them flush. All right. So if I just put one pin through now, just try to line it up with the acrylic blade. Oop, doesn't want to cooperate that well. Probably should have had this lined up a bit better before I filmed. I'll just try this front one. There we go. Right. Now you see there, once that's in there, if I push it through, it gives me a bit of room either side. Now before I trim the pins, I'm actually going to wrap the handle because there's a bit of flex in the timber here. And as this part gets wrapped here, it's going to compress. And when that compresses, it's going to push the pin further out. So once that's completely wrapped, I'll slice this. I'll slice the ends off, nice and neat and flush. And it should look good. Now it'll give me like a white little timber dot against the darker background, which I'm completely fine with. I think we'll actually add a nice little highlight to the piece. And the gap here will be covered by the whatever I wrap it with. Same along the back here. There will of course be a little gaps, sort of top and bottom, which I'm not sure if I'm going to leave them there or putty fill them or not yet. I'll see how it looks as it goes. But for now, what I'm going to do is just work on trying to get the finish on the timber correct. And then we'll come back once the finish is on the timber. I'll glue the pins into the handle. And then we'll work on the wrapping. I'm happy with how the burning look has gone. So now I'm just going to attach the blade. Alright, there's a little bit of wobble in there in the joint. It's okay as this closes up. What I'll probably also do is get some card, some thin card, and just fold it up. And sort of just fill this side here a little bit with it. That'll just make sure that as the blade sways, and once it's tensed, it'll have a little slight cushion. But either way, it's coming along very nicely. So we'll let these dry, then we'll do the wrapping. And we'll be able to move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got the pins glued in on here. Still a few gaps in here around the blade. That's not that much of an issue here. And now what we're going to do next is sort of wrap the handle, try to pull this in a bit on itself. I don't see a whole lot gathering in, but we can give it a try. Now there is give there, so with any luck, we can get it to work. Now, I'm going to try a wrapping method which I've tried previously in here, and what that is just using fabric scraps. Alright, now there are different ways that you can go about wrapping an object. What I want to do is try to kind of roll this a bit into like a cord almost, but I don't want it to be too thick. Now to start it off, I'm actually going to start it off here just by wedging it into that section there where there's like the hollow out, and then kind of wrapping it around from there. This can be a little bit tricky to get used to, but once you've gone around your starting point once or twice, it normally holds itself in place quite well. Now, I'm not too worried about frayed edges showing, because this is just meant to be like a very rough kind of knife. It's the sort of thing that would have been made in a hurry on there. It's kind of, my take on, a dragon glass weapon from Game of Thrones. And in that, it'd be a simple matter of, look, let's make this dragon glass as useful as a weapon as quick as possible. So we're not worried about pretty, we're worried about making it functional. Alright, so we get down to this point here. Now, just going to use an offcut, another bit of fabric. Here is the lay-in. I will do a tutorial video explaining the wrapping method in more detail. But for now, I'm just going to get this done. And remember, this prop is just going to be a rough display piece. It's not con safe in any way, shape or form. Be fine for photo shoots and that sort of stuff though. Alright, so we've got that there. Cut a bit of excess off. Now we just tuck the tail again through the loop. There. And then pull this through. Now just to point out too, some people would actually just leave that secured because the pressure of the binding here on this here will stop this from pulling out. So yeah, that is a possibility. I prefer to pull it all the way through though, because pulling it all the way through means you've only really got like the one thickness there. That's it, pulled all the way through. So just a quick neaten up again. The easiest way to neaten up is just to kind of pull it all down a bit. Then we trim off the excess. Alright, now this one has a few frayed ends showing and things like that. Now we can either use that to our advantage or we can try to hide those. Alright, now in using them to our advantage, just pretty much just leave them open and exposed. You know, you can dirty it up even a bit, or if you wanted to, you can kind of either gently hit with the torch, try to burn back down, or you can lacquer it. Now, lacquering, of course, will change the texture of the grip as well. It will take away the softness, give you more like a harder surface against to work. Got a little bit of a wobble from the blade in there because we didn't wrap it tight enough, but that's okay. We can always wedge that out later. Alright, so the last things left to do is to just trim the dowels, the two longer ones we left, and this is good for display. So not too bad as a basic prop. Could also, if you wanted to, you know, leave fabric remnants sort of dangling, you know, like have like a tail on it, so to speak. You know, like a wrist strap or something like that. You can do that in different fabrics as well. You can also use like leather offcuts and stuff like that. You know, pretty much whatever you want to do is limited only by your imagination here. Alright. Let me know what you think in the comments section. This one here. And thanks for watching.